So I'm finally making my way through the final season of old Top Gear, and I just got to this episode where they reviewed the Lamborghini Huracan. And there's sort of these cinematically beautiful clips of it flying across their runway, being chased by a helicopter, and it looks amazing. But they didn't show you all of the cool quirks and unusual features of the Huracan that you wouldn't know unless you've spent some time with one. So today I've flown to Atlanta, Georgia to borrow this Huracan from a viewer to do just that. I'm going to show you all of its weird features and cool quirks, and then I'm going to drive it because that's what I do. One of the most unusual quirks about the Huracan is something you don't notice right away, but over time you start to realize that everything about this car has 6 sides. You might think I'm exaggerating, but I am not. Everything on this car is 6-sided, is hexagonal. Let me show you. On the wheels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The door handle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 sides on the power mirror changer. There are 6 sides on the door handle. The AC vents, you guessed it, 6 sides. The sport button, yep, it's a hexagon. The red thing around the start-stop button, that would be 6 sides. And the silver thing around the red thing around the start-stop button, also 6 sides. There are little hexagons on the passenger side of the dashboard. And the rear grille is filled with all of these little tiny hexagons. So is the front grille. Even the airbag cover is a hexagon. Even the hole in the door for this extra door latch is a hexagon. That there is the hole with the rear view camera in it, a hexagon. Now the fuel door itself is circular, but this little thing you push, a hexagon. Let's talk about shifting it into reverse. So you don't just shift into reverse, this is a Lamborghini. Putting it into reverse has to be a cool experience. And indeed it is. It's not just a button, it's actually a lever. You pull back like you're in a fighter jet trying to get more altitude at speed. One of my favorite little quirks about the car is how you start it. Of course, there's a start button. Now in the Aventador, you have a little cover over the start button, you flip it up and then start it like a fighter jet. But people must have gotten tired of having to flip up that cover before they could start their Lamborghini. So in the Huracan, the cover is O-shaped. You don't have to flip it up, you can just press the start button through the cover. Or if you want, you can still flip it up. Either way, whatever's more comfortable for you. Also not normal, the turn signal and windshield wiper controls. There are no stalks protruding from the steering column in this car, so you don't bang your knees and so they don't get in the way of the paddles. Instead, the turn signals, the lights, and the wipers are all on the steering wheel. So when you're driving down the road, you can put on your turn signal, you can wash your window without ever having to even lift your hands from the steering wheel, which will come in handy if you're a serious driver on the racetrack and you don't want to lose focus. Speaking of the turn signals, turning them on and off is a little strange. You go left and right for the left and right signal, but then you push the button forward to cancel them. But look how good they look when they're on. Also found on the steering wheel is a sport button and a switch that toggles between a few other items in the gauge cluster, including a chronometer, the current time, and my personal favorite, maximum speed. Now also on the steering wheel is the bright light flashing. For the actual lights themselves, there's a switch panel behind the steering wheel with some very cool toggle switches. Those toggle switches carry through to the center of the car where you'll find the window switch, the front axle lifter, traction control, parking sensors, and the hazard lights. And there's also a blank switch which has no apparent function in any Huracan. Did I say the front axle lifter? That's right, flip a switch and the Huracan actually lifts itself up in order to clear any low obstacles it might encounter. Flip the switch the other way and the Huracan goes right back down. Speaking of those switches, inside the car you'll find a few things that are backwards, and the power window switch is one of them. Push it up, the window goes down. Pull it toward you, the window goes up. And it's not the only thing in the cabin that's backwards. Have you ever seen a sun visor that pulls towards you? No comment on the fact that it's roughly the same size as a television remote. Something else I've noticed, this is one of the strangest shaped windows I've ever seen. The car is like a wedge shape, but the window is like a deformed rectangle. If only it could have been a hexagon. Here's something else that's interesting. There's no center touchscreen with a navigation system or a lot of infotainment options. Instead, everything is in the gauge cluster, including the map. We're living in a brave new world far removed from the Lamborghinis of old, when you can navigate your car from an LCD gauge cluster that shows exactly where you're located in the world. And when I say everything is in the gauge cluster, I really mean everything. Obviously there's the map, but also media, radio, settings. And my personal favorite thing, go into car, there's a cool little picture of the Huracan. You can choose between various options, try servicing, and look, there's your VIN number. Something else cool, this little center screen displays gauges, and so does this little part of the gauge cluster. But did you notice something? That's Italian writing. Press olio, temp olio, batteria, and perhaps my personal favorite in the gauge cluster, instead of fuel, benzina, to make sure that you never forget that you're driving an Italian car. In front, pop the trunk and you'll find one of the coolest hinges I've ever seen. It sends the trunk up first, then forward to ensure it just barely clears that front fender. So now you know all of the Huracan's quirks and cool features, which should come in handy if you ever have the chance to steal one. For more of my thoughts on the Huracan's quirks, click the link below to check out my column on autotrader.com/oversteer. You can also check out my column for some of my thoughts on the driving experience because, well, now it's time to drive it. Man, the shifts, you can hear them, the shifts are unbelievably fast. I mean, not surprisingly fast, this is how these dual clutch cars are, but it's just great to see that, and they're so quick. The second you can think a gear change, it can do it. Probably faster, actually. Wow, it's almost amazing. We're going low speeds here, but it's almost amazing how much instantly quicker the steering is. I mean, that's some of the quickest steering that I think I've ever felt, and it's crazy. It's so quick and it's uninterrupted speed because of the transmission. It's almost like we're in an electric car. It just goes, and then when you're ready for the next gear, there's more go. There's no lag, there's no waiting for the next gear to show up. Wow. Wow. That was an on-ramp. That was pretty crazy. And it just feels so capable. I could have done twice that speed, I feel like. The ability to change direction so lightning fast is unbelievable to me. The steering rack is so much quicker than 430, 360, the Carrera GT I drove, 4GT. It's on a completely different level from those cars. Wow. The transmission is quick, but it doesn't have to be smooth. It can really push you back. It's amazing to me how much power it has in higher gears. I knew it was a fast car, but that is just, it's almost hard for me to wrap my mind around it. But of course the real fun comes when you drop the gears. Oh, wow. That is a crazy, crazy acceleration. Crazy. It's unbelievable how much the rate of acceleration doesn't change as you accelerate more. It just continues to feel faster and faster as you go faster. The least cool thing about it, I can already tell. There's a 350Z behind me and he's coming up fast. And that's such as life with a bright orange Lamborghini. You just have to live out everybody else's fantasy. This isn't like the Italian cars of old though, where you know, you sit at a stoplight and maybe the heat starts to run off. When we're sitting at a stoplight here, there's no rumbling. It doesn't feel, there's nothing rattling. It doesn't feel like the car has been poorly put together. We're just sitting here, everything's exactly as it should be, like as if we're in some sort of German car, which one could argue this kind of is. Some curves here. I feel like I could do anything. I feel like a superhuman in this car. I really feel like I can put it anywhere and go anywhere with it. It's incredible. The steering is just insanely quick. Of course there's no body roll, and of course it handles well, but the thing that I'm most coming away with this impressed with is the steering. It's so fast. This might be the most tossable car that I've ever driven, even though it's a Lamborghini. I already feel so confident in the car. I know exactly where its front and end are. I know exactly what it can do. It's tremendous how quickly, I've only been driving the thing 20 minutes. It's amazing how quickly I've already sort of grown accustomed to it, and how quickly I feel confident in what I can do when I'm in it. It's sort of like I have become the car, and I know exactly where the corners are and what I'm capable of. Wow. Wow. But I'm not done with this video just yet. Ever since I drove the Huracan a few weeks ago, I can't stop thinking about it. So I've created a new metric here. It's called surprises. Now this list is not for cars that you expect to be great and then they're great, like the Carrera GT, or you expect to be crazy and they're crazy, like the Viper. It's for cars you drive and you expect them to be pretty good, and then it turns out they're amazing. And you run home and you look on AutoTrader and you think, maybe I could afford one of these. It's for cars that you drive and then you just can't stop thinking about for weeks at a time. Now, on my list right now, number 1, BMW 1 Series M, car that surprised me most. Never done a video on it. I love this car. Ford GT. I thought it would be a stupid Ford, turned out to be world-class supercar. Cayman GT4, amazing surprise, awesome car. And now, after careful consideration, my surprises list adds a new name. And it is the Huracan, ahead of all of the others. It's just that good, just that surprising. And yes, I do believe it's worth every bit of $250,000. So there you go. That's everything you've wanted to know about the Lamborghini Huracan. And while I can't take cinematic shots of it from a helicopter flying across a runway, I promise you, the next time you see one of these at Cars and Coffee, you'll be counting hexagons.